Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated Legacy action. Today for our midweek meta deck, we are featuring the deck that won the Legacy Showcase Challenge, which is one of those sort of higher level online events and is a good way of sort of gauging where the meta and the format is at right now. So, the deck that won this was Cephalid Breakfast, piloted by Larson, which may be a name you remember because they have featured on this channel before. So, Cephalid Breakfast is a combo deck. We are using Nomads en-Kor and Shuko to target either Cephalid Illusionist a whole bunch and mill our deck until we put some Narcomoebas in the bin, and then we can dread return our Thassa's Oracle to win. Or we target the Nadu and draw enough cards in our deck that we just can't lose the game, and maybe whilst we're drawing these cards, we set up the Illusionist combo as well. This is a deck that everyone thought was going to be the best deck after the bans, and so far it hasn't been performing that much. It's got 4 challenge top 8s since the start of January, which is, you know, relatively low down compared to some of the other decks that are performing a lot better. But clearly this deck is very strong and it just won the Legacy Showcase Challenge, so maybe more people are going to be thinking, okay, we should probably be playing this. Alongside the combo stuff, we've got ourselves some interaction, which is why this deck is so strong, because you get to play all these plows and endings and a Teferi to cover your bases, as well as a bunch of counter magic and Force of Will and Daze to keep yourself able to do like turn 2 combos with protection, which is pretty bananas. We've also got some cantrips to go and find the pieces we need to win the game with. And then we've got ourselves a few Urza Sagas, which can be part of the beatdown plan, but also tutors for Shuko. We've got a Cavern of Souls in there to make uncountable wizards, because Nadu and Cephalid Illusionist are both wizards. Nomads, not so much, but that's okay. We've then got ourselves a Surveil land in the Hedge Maze, and a Surveil land in the Archive. We've got the ability to play on a couple of basics as well. And we're very much just like splashing for green off of the Trop, Savannah, the aforementioned Hedge Maze, and the Cavern. So that's how we're going to be casting the Nadu, which is enough sources. We've got fetch lands to do it. Sideboard-wise, we've just got a smattering of different tools. So we've got Orim's Chant to protect us or really jam up a Storm combo player. We've got a good old-fashioned Disenchant, which you love to see. We've got some Consign to Memories for Eldrazi, stuff like that. Hydroblast, Force of Negation. We've got some graveyard hate between the Faerie Macabre and the Ghost Vacuum. Considering Blue-Black Reanimator is currently the best performing deck in the format, it makes sense to have quite a lot of graveyard hate, and the Ghost Vacuum can be found off of the Saga. Got another Cavern for when we really need to make sure our stuff resolves. We've got another Teferi, which again does a very similar thing. It's very hard for our opponent to interact at all when we have a Teferi in play. And then we have ourselves a Pithing Needle, which can come off of the Urza Saga. So I quite like what we're working with here. I've played this deck before on the channel. It usually goes pretty well. The deck is incredibly powerful. And congratulations to Larson for winning the Legacy Showcase Challenge. That is no mean feat at all. Alright, please remember to like and subscribe. And I'm going to plug it again. I'm trying to hit 5k subscribers by my birthday in January, so I really need to get those subscriber numbers up. So if you watch my content and you aren't subscribed yet, just hit that button. It does help me a lot. Alright, let's do some breakfast action. Okay, we have a route towards the Nadu combo if we start with the Saga and hope to find some more mana. I don't think that's how we're supposed to play this hand. We can probably drop a Surveil land on turn 1 and ponder, play the Saga. I think it's okay. We have 2 different pieces of interaction. We have a route to a combo, and we have a little bit of selection to find the last thing we need, whether that's disruption or another combo piece or whatever. An underground sea. We're just going to get reanimated straight up? No, they're not going to be entombing on turn 1. The turn 1 Brainstorm suggests to me one of 2 things. Either they're a combo deck that can try and go off turn 2, or they have a Troll of Khazad-dûm in their hand that they're happy to cycle away in their upkeep. Alright, passing over to us. So we could Flooded Strand here, but I think we need to get one of these tap lands out of the way. So I think I'm going to play this Meticulous Archive. We put the Shuko on top, then we can attempt the Nadu combo on turn 3. We can play Shuko next turn around a Daze, whilst playing our Saga. And Undercity Sewers. So this could be a Storm deck. Worldgorger Dragon. Alright, they're going to be doing some reanimation shenanigans. So the Worldgorger Dragon loop is where you have it with Animate Dead or Dance of the Dead, I think it is. And basically it flickers in and out over and over again because it flickers the thing that's reanimated it. And all your opponents leave and come back over and over again. So your Surveil land allows you to surveil your entire deck into your graveyard if you want to. And then you can get whichever reanimation target you want. And then you can start doing blinks with the Worldgorger where you start draining life using Archon of Cruelty. So this one little Daze might not be enough, is what we're saying. So I think the play here is ponder, looking for some more interaction, and then play the Shuko. I'm not... Am I expecting counter magic here? Just trying to work out if we want to play this land first or not. I don't really want to give the game up that it says. I think I'm just going to ponder first. If they do have counter magic and they spend it on a ponder, that's not fighting over our Daze. So if they have counter magic, it's probably going to be something like a Daze. So they're going to set themselves back, which makes our Daze more live. I don't really want any of these, to be honest. So I could play this Saga and get this burning now. I think that's reasonable. This is going to work our way towards another Shuko. It does mean they're less likely to counter this Shuko. Alright. Okay, we got another land. So our Daze is not looking the most live right now. They have a lot of mana over there. We could have a Thought Seize here as well. Animate Dead. So we Daze this, it doesn't actually help us at all. Although maybe it stops them having the 1 mana. Although they'll pay, this will come in. This will exile everything, and then everything will come back. So I don't know how we're supposed to beat this. So if you're unfamiliar with this combo, well, let it play out for a little bit because it's pretty cool. This is deterministic with a Surveyor land. So float mana, exiles. This Well-Gorgeous Dragon is going to exile everything. And then that's going to exile the Animate Dead, which is going to bring back the Well-Gorgeous Dragon. And the Well-Gorgeous Dragon is going to exile everything again. So every time they're generating mana here on this loop, the Animate Dead comes back, brings back the Well-Gorgeous Dragon, and so on and so forth. So what they do is they surveil their whole deck. And I think I've done enough to show how this works. So what's going to happen is they're going to keep surveilling until they can have access to a Archon of Cruelty in the graveyard and an Animate Dead somewhere. And then what they could do is they can bring back the Archon and the Well-Gorgeous Dragon, and then they just loop it and kill us. So they do have this one. We can concede this is deterministic with the Surveil land. Okay. We are packing Graveyard Hate, so that's good news. So let's get these in. Orim's Chant, not completely unhelpful, but the Disenchant looks very tasty to me. I think we will probably want some Force of Negations as well. And this isn't really going to be a Source to Plowshares matchup. I don't really know what their sideboard plan is, but I suspect any sort of creature that they approach us with is going to be handled by us just trying to combo over them anyway, or counterspelling critical parts. Do I think the Teferi is where I want to be? We've seen blue lands, so it's entirely possible our opponent is on like a more counter magic-y based hand. Like they weren't playing the cards from their hand. They were probably sitting on them, so they weren't like Lotus Petals or Dark Rituals or anything. So probably counter magic, which means Teferi is probably a good place to be here as well. But this is a lot of cards to bring in, so we have to work out what's going. We could get rid of the Prismatic Endings. It can kill Animate Dead, but normally when Animate Dead starts popping, we've already lost. So if we've got these things, do we want a Cavern of Souls over one of our other lands? Possibly. Maybe the game's not going to be long enough for Hedge Maze to matter. Let's try that. We've still got one on Meticulous Archive in there. So we're basically swapping a green source for another green source. But we still need to cut 3 cards if we want to fit all of this in. I think we do want all of this. And we brought out 1 Shuko, because we're going to be the control in this matchup. Do we need Memory's Journey? It is Graveyard Hate, so I guess we can keep that in. It's also a blue card, pitches to Force. Are we going to have enough time to be pondering around, maybe? Possibly not. Alright, let's try this. I haven't seen that much of the Well-Gorgeous deck, but I know it's been putting up reasonable numbers. I think it's got like 3 or 4 top 8s. We've got Graveyard Hate, we've got Counter Magic. We don't have blue for this ponder. What is our game plan? The game plan here is just stall until our opponent can't do anything, and we can maybe draw something that wins us the game. This is already a mulligan. I think we're going to go a bit deep. We've got a lot of Graveyard Hate in our deck. We kind of need some interaction, but Brainstorm can find interaction pretty darn quickly. Alright, I will keep this one. And I think I kind of want to bottom the Shuko here, because the Thassa Oracle is a blue card that we might need for Force of Will, so we don't lose the Nadu ability. That's certainly a choice. I think it is. I think it is the Shuko here, because we need to be able to rip a Force of Will if necessary. I'd like to be able to Force of Will and then have Nadu combo. Yeah, we don't get to go and just mill our entire deck over and win immediately, but if we Nadu and draw, 12 cards every turn cycle, that's probably going to be enough to stop whatever our opponent's doing. We're also doing Yorion stuff over there as well. it's really hard to work out exactly what our opponent's list looks like. Misty Rainforest. So we can brainstorm and respond to something if we need to. So we can hide cards, or we can... Personal Tutor. Is this some sort of Doomsday flex? Could be. Okay. I guess at this point we can put the Oracle back. And then... It doesn't matter what else we put back. So this is almost certainly going to get Doomsday, I would imagine. Same thing I've seen Personal Tutor grab for quite some time. There is the Doomsday. So we draw another land here. So we have a choice here. We can either see 3 completely new cards and we're looking for permission, which I think is correct. Or we could look at 2 new cards but have a shuffle afterwards. I think it's better to see the most amount of new cards here. We get a Trop. The plan is we brainstorm here and then we drop the Nomads. Okay. Some of this stuff works out for me. I think we'll put Tundra and Cavern on top. We'll deploy a Nomads. If they interact with this, we have another one in the chamber. We can also use the Cavern to get through any sort of Force of Will if they're trying to answer our Nadu. So we're hoping this Force of Negation does enough. There is an argument there just to leave mana open to pay around a Daze, but I think representing our ability to actually just win the game next turn if they can't do a pass a turn line, which might be what they're planning for, because it is only early stages of the game. I think that's just correct. Because if we assemble our combo, our opponent will not win, because we'll draw all the cards you can imagine and have all the permission needed. Okay, a Cabal Ritual. This is good for us, I think. Let's fire this off. So the Cabal Ritual rather than a Dark Ritual means they're going to have less mana to try and combo once this is in play. And hopefully we can just rip through enough cards we can just go next turn. So if we rip through enough stuff, we find ourselves a Cephalid Illusionist, we can just mill our deck and win the game. That is what we're playing to at this point. We know that we're going to get a land off of the first Nadu trigger, off the Tundra, so that's halfway towards casting an Illusionist already. And we'll have that, it'll also allow us to play this Nomads, so we get to have 6 cards on our turn straight away. Now maybe if we held up the mana there and we could have played through the Daze, I did say that was a thing that we were playing into potentially. But I think it's better for us to at least have a line to win in the game here. Because let's say they had Force of Will instead. Then that line does absolutely nothing. This way, they had to have specifically Daze, and we still have another shot at ending this game before our opponent gets to beat us. Unless they win right now off of like Cycler, Lion's Eye Diamond type nonsense. But if that happens, when, well, they deserve it at that point. Okay, let's have a look at this monstrosity that they've assembled. Devastation Tide, that's a cool one. Brazen Borrower. Unstoppable Slasher. Alright, so they've boarded out Wild Gorger Dragon. I have no idea what's going on, really. Let's play this on Wizard. Now it's our turn to do something busted and annoying. Right, we're pretty close to Illusionist now. We just need to find it. We can cast it. Do I want to Surveil here or not? I think we do. So we've done all our Nadu clicks that we have available. So now we have to deploy the Nomads. Faerie Macabre, that doesn't help right now. And a Daze. I don't believe that we get to win this game. We don't have anything like an Orim's Chant that we could have boarded in because I wasn't expecting this pivot. I think our opponents just had us here. We get to see another 6 cards in our opponent's upkeep though. We don't have another Surveil land, so I'm not going to crack this. So let's just draw a few more cards here. Disenchant. And the Brainstorm. How are we supposed to beat what our opponent's doing? A very good question. Well, we're certainly not countering the Thassa's Oracle. We did find the Illusionist in the end, but I don't think it matters, unfortunately. Oh, we don't even have any more blue sources here. Okay. Then they just rifle off all their stuff, and then we die. Oh, really? Are they not comboing here? No, they're just doing it in the second main phase for some reason. We don't have any source to Plowshares. This can't be countered. This is enough to win the game. Yeah. I didn't really know what was going on that whole match because our opponent's deck was really unusual and cool. That's a good example of Brewer's advantage. So first it was, okay, we're just against some sort of Wild Gorger Dragon combo deck. Then it's like, we've also got this like Baragoyf Unstoppable Slasher Doomsday. There's loads of stuff going on in our opponent's deck, so sweet list. Let's go to round 2. This hand does not do anything, so we're going to send this one back. Okay, we just need to find a white source. I'll keep... What are we going to get rid of here? Probably just one of the Nomads, because we can always go get a Shuko. Keep blue cards. Doesn't ever hurt, does it? If we draw a white source, we could just play Nomads on 1, Illusionist on 2. But that could play into a bunch of stuff our opponent has. So we'll see what they're up to. And see if we want to Ponder or Nomads, depending on what we draw. Alright, this looks a bit lightning bolty, but it could be a Delver list. So I think we just want to Ponder and try and hit a land here. None of those are lands. That is also not land. Alright, we could just be cooked. Alright, this Brainstorm suggests our opponent is trying to do some sort of force of will. Sorry, show and tell stuff. And they're going to be trying to back it with things like Force of Will and Daze. Alright, we did not get punished for missing our land. Let's Ponder. What's happening here? They're dazing our Ponder. I'll play this Saga out. Maybe they are on Delve and they've just got like a more reactive Murktide hand where they're just going to interact with us a bunch and then dump a Murktide in our laps. At least they're more likely to hit our Saga than they are to hit our Coloured Source. But they might get greedy, hit the top line and just try and stop us from doing anything, which I think is a pretty strong play that our opponent has access to. And does risk us having a tutor off of the Saga though. The vast majority of the time, when you have a wasteland and you point it at something other than the Urza Saga on your opponent's board, you end up regretting it. Not always, but often. Another Brainstorm from our opponents. They could still be a show and tell list. They sometimes run some number of Dazes. Less than they used to. But it's not a surprise to cover. Okay, there's the wasteland. What are you losing? They've gone after the blue source. Let's see if the prophecy holds true. So what are we doing here? You can play the land out and Ponder, I think, is probably acceptable here. I think playing the Illusionist into a deck that almost certainly has Lightning Bolt in makes a lot of sense to me. I don't really like these cards. Any order? Shuffle. Okay, so the plan is we float the mana off the Saga, get the Shuko, play the Illusionist, try and win the game. But if we could draw a Cavern of Souls to go along with that, then I would like that very much. This is also a matchup where I'm pretty glad that we have a Cavern just as another land to add to our deck. So even if they're trying to wasteland us, we just have one more land, and it's also one that has a very useful ability. Okay. Shuko. Let's attempt the Illusionist. I suspect this is getting answered some fashion. I think it's probably going to be a Lightning Bolt after we target with the Shuko. Right. So we're getting a Narcomoeba. Let's have an almighty 2-1 flyer. Trade to Delver, right? Must be good. We do have this Dread Return in hand, which is awkward. We'll need to find some kind of Brainstorm, because this is not a card that we can cast. But we can mill our whole library, and we can Memory's Journey, put the Thassa's Oracle on top, but we need more lands to do that. Delver of Secrets. Narcomoeba has that covered. Did not draw a land. Alright, let's play out this Nomads. I don't think we're attacking for damage here. And we just hold back. We can trade with the Delver if we want to, and then save our Plow for something big like a Murktide. This whole game has felt like our opponent is building towards Murktide rather than anything else. So I suspect they have some 1-mana interaction, like a Lightning Bolt or something. So we're trying to dodge the potential Murktide that's coming down. Right, they're going to shoot our Nomads. We can redirect it. They can shoot the Narcomoeba. Okay. So yeah, they were probably holding up 1 mana, so they might want the 3rd mana so they can deploy a Murktide and hold up something if they have another Lightning Bolt. A Force of Negation. It's a pretty useful Magic the Gathering card here. But we just need lands. That's the thing we're missing here. Right, we're getting cracked for 3 damages, but we got lots of life to work with. Don't have any mana to work with, though. I guess we're going to start attacking since blocking isn't on here. Right, let's make another Nomad so it's harder for them to disrupt our combo if we get there. This way, if we top deck a Cavern of Souls at some point, we can just play the Illusionist and they can't really deal with both of our guys and we just get to pop off. Obviously, they could have 2 Lightning Bolts, but that'll be all the Lightning Bolts in deck. They probably have something like Unholy Heat and stuff like that as well. A Wasteland. Uh-oh. Oh, SPaghettiOs. We are getting somewhat crushed over here. Oh, our basic planes, though. Absolutely love to see it. We are winning this race, though, right? So we attack, we put them to 13. They attack, they put us to 11. We attack, we put them to 10. They attack, they put us to 8. We attack, we put them to 7. They attack, we get put to 5. Then we attack them to 4. Then they put us to 2. Then we put them to 1. Then they kill us. Okay, no, we're not winning the race. But we have a plow. I don't really want to plow a Delver, but we can use that later on if we need to. I certainly don't want to use this plow into a Daze if I can avoid it. A Ponder. Could be useful at some point. This could be a Brazen Borrower just flashed in to increase the clock. That probably forces our hand on a Swords to Plowshares. We probably have to plow the Delver rather than the Borrower, because the Borrower has 1 toughness, so if we can just put a Narcomoeba into play at some point, it can jump it and get it. Alright, there is a Petty Theft. I know the moment we fire off this plow, they're going to play a Murktide. It's very frustrating. Go on then. Have a plow. I've already seen they've got another threat. Right, a Spell Pierce. Alright, I haven't seen Spell Pierces for a while in Delver. I'd like to see it. Big fan of Spell Pierce. Maybe that means they also have Stifle in their list. It's certainly possible. We'll explain what they're doing with these cards in hand that aren't doing anything. A Bauble, so they can use this on themselves and use a fetch land as a little surveil, effectively. See if they want the card or not. Time to rip Cavern of Souls. We did not rip Cavern of Souls. Let's get 2 damage in. The annoying thing here is we can't fetch a basic island. So we have 2 major options before us. We can either go for the Cephalid Illusionist, which almost certainly doesn't work into our opponent's interaction, and we don't need to go for it right now. The other option is to cast this Ponder. That does leave us a little bit exposed to a 3rd wasteland from our opponent. But I think using the Ponder, just trying to set up something, makes a lot of sense. Especially considering we have the Dread Return in hand. Which isn't really where we want that one. I do like the Brainstorm here. The Daze is kind of whatever. The Hedge Maze. If they tap out for something big though, maybe we can get them with the Daze here. So if we put the Daze in our hand, that way if they play a spell, we can always bounce our own Tundra and preserve it. Another little Nomads out. Just don't wasteland my opponent. My poor little heart can't take another one. Ponder from our opponent. The more mana they spend on stuff, the more our Daze is likely to do something. We do kind of need this Brainstorm if we want to try and win before our opponent can just kill us with a lightning bolt next turn. So we could Brainstorm right now, get rid of this Dread Return, set ourselves up for next turn. That means we die to lightning bolt. If we play the Illusionist, we do have to go through our whole deck and then put something on top. Our opponent doesn't know that and they might scoop, but I think we should just do the correct play, which is the Brainstorm here. Okay, get rid of this Dread Return, please. Do I want this as a Saga? I don't think I do. Put that one away for now. This one. Oh, wait. Oh, no, I don't know if we have another blue source here. I don't think we do we? We do have a basic island actually, don't we? Yeah, okay. We have a basic island. We can play this one out and then we can attempt to play out the Nadu next turn. If we can find some green mana, that is. Right, a red. No? Why are they tapping for red? We don't have a tropical island to fetch, which is kind of the problem. We couldn't set up for both of these. But if this resolves, we win the game. If we let our opponent have another turn, they might just kill us with a lightning bolt. Can pick up our Tundra to help here. An Unholy Heat on one of our guys. Sure. Gonna try and kill the other one. We still have the Shuko, so it doesn't even matter that much. Okay. Well, we still have the Shuko. I think these are trying to bait interaction out of our hand. They're playing a Force of Will here. I'll Daze this, bouncing our Tundra. Our opponent has 1 card in hand. If it's Daze, they win the game. But if they had Daze, they'd probably use Daze instead of the Force. But now we get to win the game. So what we're doing is we're just constantly targeting our Cephalid Illusionist with this Shuko, which triggers its ability, which gives us a mill of 3. We're going to keep doing this until our... Alright, our opponent's scooping it up. So yeah, we mill our whole deck and then we dread return. That was a really interesting game. I'm very glad that we went for the Brainstorm line there and just secured some extra mana. But yeah, happy about that one. Let's go to the sideboard. A Delver matchup. We're probably going to want access to this Cavern of Souls. I think that's pretty much a given here. I like the Teferi Time Raveler. Stops our opponent's interaction. Bounces giant scary monsters. And I don't hate the Orim's Charm and the Hydroblast here either. So I think there's up to 4 cards we're interested in. What do I not like? That is a trickier part here. I don't really like things like Force of Will against Delver matchups in general. But I think we still want to have access to a couple of them. So we'll trim a couple of forces. And then what are we doing with the rest of our choices here? We could trim 1 Shuko and just try and use the Saga to get through it. I think that's okay. Like, Nadu just lines up well against our opponent's deck anyway. Are we... Like, if we're doing the Nadu stuff, we definitely want Force of Will, a couple of Force of Wills in, because then we can just rattle through and get them. Now, we could cut a land to get this Cavern, but I think I want an additional land because our opponents are going to be like, our opponents are going to be wastelanding us and all that jazz. We definitely want to keep our removal spells. And we definitely want to keep our combo. We could cut back slightly on the Cephalid Illusionist, because our opponent's probably going to have some graveyard hate and stuff. I don't hate that. So we still have 7 things at combo with our other bits. Well, I'm going to try it like this and boarding out 1 Cephalid. I've seen better players than I at Breakfast do that before. So let's see. Well, we're definitely not keeping this hand. Let's mulligan that one straight away. Well, we have a combo. I will keep this. Probably get rid of a Saga. I think it's a Saga that goes here. So we have a must counter spell into Teferi from our opponent. Although if they have enough pressure, they might be able to ignore it and attack into it. Like ignore it on the stack and then just attack into it and clear it. But if they are just representing 1 threat, we play this, bounce something, and we set them back quite a bit. We get deeper into our deck, and our opponent doesn't get to counter our spells for a turn cycle or 2. So we could just go and get a Plains and just play this guy out. I don't really like that very much. But playing on basics doesn't seem the worst. I'm going to play out this Windswept Heath. I'm not going to deploy the Nomads. I think this game is going to be a relatively long one. It's not just going to be a quick 5-minute and we're done. Delver of Secrets. Yep. So I could get a Surveil land here. They got another threat. What, DRC over there? No, just a Ponder. So they're probably going to flip their Delver next turn. So we could get a Surveil land because we're already kind of going to be exposed to Wasteland anyway. And I think I do want to play this Saga on 2 so we can crank out some tokens if we want to. Because the Urza Saga token plan is a reasonable way of winning the game. And if our opponent has to expend resources on that, then we can just drop our combo in afterwards and win the game. So I think we're going to go and get the Meticulous Archive here. A Daze. I think the time for Daze is already gone. Let's put this into our graveyard. A Nadu Winged Wisdom. So I could go get another Surveil land here and deploy a Nomad. Or I could deploy the Urza Saga and a Nomad. I quite like the Urza Saga Nomad. See if we can get some interaction out of our opponent. The only issue with doing that is if they manage to answer both. So if they have like Bolt and Wasteland, which are certainly possible draws for our opponent, that is not going to feel very good. I think maybe we just play out the Surveil land here with the intention of getting another Surveil, sorry, play out the fetch to get the Surveil land, and then we just start jamming haymakers. So we just go, okay, can you answer Teferi? No, that takes some real permission. Can you answer my Nadu? Okay, now I'm also going to play this Nomads on the same turn cycle. What are you going to do about it? This gets unpicked a little bit if our opponent's holding some Pyroblasts and Wastelands and things like that. Nevertheless, I still think it's a reasonable plan. Let's see what this Delver flips to. An Unholy Heat. Alright, glad we didn't play the Nomads out there. Right, so we take our 3 points of damage. And hopefully they don't play a Wasteland. That's what we're trying to avoid here. A Grafdigger's Cage. Okay, so the Illusionist combo is off, so I'm very glad that we boarded out one of our Illusionists. It's nice to be rewarded for a decision you made. Let's go and get this Surveil land. Get them out of the way. Also get that nice selection going. This also hits planeswalkers, which is important to note. Do I just want to keep making land drops? I think so. I think the way we lose this game is just running out of resources to deploy. Like, we've got really good hand here. So we could play out this Nadu into our opponent's Daze. We could play out this Teferi into our opponent's Daze, which will definitely get a reaction. And then we can try and follow up with Nadu plus Nomads on the following turn. I think that's probably where I want to be here. Right, let's just start working through our opponent's thing. Because if we try and play too slowly, we're going to keep taking these chip shots, and then all of a sudden, a couple of lightning bolts and we're dead. So I think we need to work through our opponent's disruption, and this is certainly one way of doing it. This can bounce the Grafdigger's Cage if we need it to, but once we assemble the Nadu combo and draw all the cards and known to man, it shouldn't matter. I don't think we board in Disenchant in a game 3 if there is one, just for the cage. I think we have the 2 Teferis and that's enough. Alright, so they had a Daze. Now we need to work through the next selection of things. So I think we play the Saga out, play the Nadu, and then play the Nomads, because we know they've already got this Unholy Heat, which can deal with one of our Nomads. So there's no point playing it out first. So we could be on a 3-turn clock if a single lightning bolt gets involved, which is why I started just sending the permanents into play. I think that's better than just holding them and trying to play around a Daze and then just dying with cards in hand. A Brainstorm. I do like the Brainstorm, but I don't think that's what we're about right now. I think we play out this Saga, play out this Nadu. This is probably Force of Will worthy for our opponent. Oh, they got Hydroblast. Sorry, Pyroblast. That's pretty good. We do have a Pyroblast. Do we Brainstorm response? Now we're going to Brainstorm in this turn cycle anyway, so I think we do. Because we want to have our maximum amount of mana open on our turn. We have a Force of Will, if we want it. Do I want to stick this Nadu? I don't think so. Then we stick it next turn. So we've got to land on top. So we can do Nadu, Nomads, around Daze with Force of Will backup. And we know... We don't know that they still have this Unholy Heat in hand because they have Brainstorm since, but I think it's quite likely because it does interact with us. And they probably want a piece of interaction that does creatures, and then they want some interaction that does other stuff. So I'm expecting one piece of counter magic from our opponent that we can beat. Right, the other side's ticking up. There's a Thassa's Oracle on top of our library that we don't want. Let's play this. Let's go and get ourselves a Tundra just to round out our jewels here. Okay, so this green. Right, we'll fight pitching the Illusionist here. Here comes the Nomad. An Unholy Heat targeting our Nadu. I will interact with this one. There's more. There's more coming. A Brainstorm. That is not a sign of strength, thankfully. So none of the interaction they can have here can cost mana. Daze isn't good enough. It has to be Force of Will and blue card. So the chances of this working are quite low, but not impossible. They could have Force of Negation. So we get to draw 8 cards if this resolves. We get to draw 4 now, 4 on their turn. On our next turn, we make an Urza Saga construct, and we draw 12 cards. Alright, they did find the Force. Okay, so we are dead to anything from our opponent here. They left the card on top, so we're almost certainly dead here. Yikes. I guess we'll play this out. So our opponent has no card in hand. Not a bad Brainstorm there, opponent. Yeah, so if we spent this game waiting to play around Daze, we definitely would have lost. We at least had a shot there where our opponent had to hit the perfects. Now, what's on top of our library? We don't know, do we? Is that true? I can't remember. No, we cracked the fetch land, didn't we? So we don't know what's on top of our library. So we could still spike a Nadu here. Our opponent finds a lightning bolt, we obviously die immediately. Right, just playing out a land. They're cracking it now. Okay. Maybe that's just for some F6 value through our turn. And Nomads. We don't have anything that we can get off this that helps. We are just dead to all their guys. Let's go to game 3. I like how I've sideboarded this one. We've got a little bit more removal in. We've gone a little bit back on that combo. Do we want to have more Force of Wills? I don't think we do. I think what we've got here is a pretty solid way of approaching things. Like, playing a bunch of Forcibles into the Pyroblast deck also feels terrible. I don't think I want a Ghost Vacuum to sort of like curtail our opponent's graveyard. That is a thing you could do, but I don't think that's where I want to spend my slots. I'm just going to go in and rely on these caverns to do the work for us. Okay, an Orim's Chant. I don't hate that, but I don't like having this Narcomoeba in hand. Already a mulligan. This hand is quite slow. I think we can do better. Alright. I like the Teferi. Not big into the Daze. Don't like the Memory's Journey very much. I just need a cantrip. That makes me feel a lot happier about this. Because what are we doing with this hand? We kind of maybe play Teferi later. Like, I don't think we can keep this. I think we need to have more action. Okay, this looks a little bit more action-y. So let's start off with this Flooded Strand. And we'll pass. So we can go and get a Surveil land. I don't think we're just playing out the Nomads into our opponent's Lightning Bolt and Holy Heat deck. We need to make a decision if we want the Surveil land now or not. I think we probably do, and it should be the Hedge Maze. So we could play on basics, but we're already behind on resources, so I don't really want to make things more difficult for ourselves. I want to maximize what we have access to. Okay, we have an Illusionist. Now I'm going to play out the Nomads right now. So we can play out the Nomads around a Daze, or we could play an Illusionist. So the Nomads is kind of the higher value object because it combos with the Nadu as well. If we think we're drawing a land next turn, by all means we can do that. I think I'm going to play the Illusionist. Put our opponent on notice, get some interaction out of the hand. We can also Daze this and save our land. Because if our opponent Dazes this, it means they don't actually have any like removal, because you just let this go through if you have the removal. You're going to force this as well? No. Okay. So yeah, I don't think our opponent would Daze there if they had anything like a Lightning Bolt or a Pyroblast, Unholy Heat, anything of that nature. So they're fighting purely on the axis of counter magic, which means we should be able to get the Nomads through around a Daze if we draw a land. A Ponder. Ooh. I think my read on them not having removal looks quite accurate. Now we are being slightly punished for having this Hedge Maze if we don't have an untapped land off the top. We have to make a choice if we're playing into Daze or not. Because there's only a matter of time before our opponent does find removal. Okay, that makes our life a lot easier. Nomad. Is this going to be a Force of Will on a Nomad? Because we can just re-rack it for next turn as well. Also, making our opponent fight over this sort of stuff means they're not going to be messing with our mana necessarily. An Orim's Chant. I don't think we want that. I'll take my 1 point of damage from my Octopus Wizard. Used to be a Cephalid Wizard, but now is an Octopus. Goodbye, Cephalid creature type. I'm attacking for 3. Are they going to Wasteland us? If they Wasteland us, then Daze is offline. It has to be Force of Will then. I'm going to play as Nomad. The Will. So the Nadu just lines up well against our opponent's stuff anyway. So we can just deal with that one. I'm going to exile that one. A Daze. Okay. So they're 2 Dazes. Sorry, they're 3 Dazes down now. And a Force of Will. So the chances of our Nadu resolving seem relatively high to me. We'll get a Meticulous Archive at end step. Unless we have to respect a Wasteland. Alright, there's a Wasteland. I'm going to take out Hedge Maze. So this can get a green source, so we can't afford to crack this now. Are we just going to get nickel and dimed down by this Delver? Could be. How am I going to play around the 4th Daze here? I don't think so. Our opponent could kill us next turn with a flurry of lightning bolts. Now, a Pyroblast is very good here. Would you look at that? Into Pyroblast. But again, we mulligan to 5. And we just had to go for it as best we could here. And sometimes your opponents, those extra resources that they have are going to be enough to beat you. And that feels like what's happening here. Now, we can still just top deck a Nomad or a Shuko and just do our combo. So we're not completely done for yet. A Source to Plowshares. Okay. Octopus Beatdown is the plan. Just 15 more turns of this. We will plow this Delver in their turn before they deal damage to us because we don't want to get Lightning Bolted this turn. Now, if they have a lightning bolt, obviously means that we're not going to be able to combo off anyway. I need Teferi. Yes, please. I need a Teferi here. I can attack for 1. Would I actually like a free card here? Or would I like the ability to bounce something on the next turn? The problem is if they had a Pyroblast, they would have counted this on the stack. I think we just want to get our card here. Cavern of Souls. I'll hold that in hand. Our opponent might deal with our Teferi and think counter magic is on. The activation of this Teferi might end up costing us the game. Or it might be the thing that wins us the game, depending on like how many cards we get through. But the fact that this was a potential answer to a Murktide. Now, they didn't have a Murktide. We're just trying to find like one of our pieces to win the game, or a cantrip, or anything. I think it makes sense to draw on that open board. It does feel like our opponent has maybe a Brazen Borrower, where they kept their mana open at end step, but then obviously couldn't really interact with our Teferi. I guess they could have bounced our Illusionist. In response, that doesn't seem amazing though. Our opponent lost connection briefly, but they are now sub 5 minutes on their clock. Feels like we're about to get Murktided, which I did say was something that could jam us up. But let's say they had an Unholy Heat and just killed our Teferi and we got nothing out of it. We do have access to another Teferi. We have access to more Plows. We don't have a Pyroblast in our deck because we are not those colours. Got a handful of answers. We also have a I win the game button. So we just got to hope it's good. This is a lethal Murktide Regent. A Force of Will. That is not going to cut it, is it? And we're just dead. So if we'd have kept the Teferi online, we might have been alright there. But then again, we don't know if our opponent had any sort of red spell they could point our Teferi. We are just cooked there, I'm afraid. I think it was a pretty good match though. Lots of back and forth. Some real Magic the Gathering happening there instead of just windmilling, which is nice. Let's go to round 3. Right, welcome to round 3. We got some cantrips. We can work our way towards something. I will be okay with this. So whether we need interaction, whether we need combo pieces, we can just have a little looky. Lotus Petal, we dying this turn? It's entirely possible. Dire Ritual, is this a Doomsday? Is this a Storm? Cabal Therapy targeting me. They're probably going to name Force of Will, I would imagine. They did name Force of Will. Okay. What are you doing with this other 2 mana here? Garden of Freyalise. Alright, we're going to see a Balustrade Spy. And we're going to see their whole deck mill over. Yep, we're just getting turn 1 oops here on the play. With Disruption. Nothing we can do about this one. Anything interesting in their list? Let's pop this out and have a little look first. So, we got Poxwalker's build. That makes sense. Jack-o'-lantern. Sneaky in the sort of black and white thing, so it looks like a black card. Very sneaky. Disciple of Freyalise. That means that our opponent is looking to... They should have a Reanimate somewhere in their list. If they've got the Disciple of Freyalise in there. It could just be in their hand. But that usually means that what you can do is, if everything goes wrong, your Memory's Journey, some stuff on top, then you Reanimate the Disciple. And then you draw 3 cards. So you draw Lotus Petal, Oracle, and win. But yeah, that's us dead anyway. To the sideboard. Faerie Macabres, yes please. Force of Negations, also yes please. Consign Memory can do some stuff. Orim's Chant can mess with them a little bit. Like, all of these things feel pretty reasonable. We do not need any removal here. So they can all go. We probably don't have the time to be to be pondering around a bunch. Get rid of a Shuko, get rid of a couple of ponders. That looks okay to me. Or Ghost Vacuum, get that in there as well. Get rid of Nadu. We just need to not lose the game here. Am I okay with this? Like, we could bring Pithing Needle in as well, just for the Undercity Informer. But there's only so much I want to trim from our own deck. I think this is fine. So this is a really skewed matchup where you're not really executing your game plan against them. You're just making sure you don't lose the game and then eventually you win somehow by just playing regular Magic. We have a Force of Will. We have a Saga that we can start ticking up immediately. I don't think we can do much better than this for right now. Our opponents should know what we're playing once they see the Saga. And they saw some Ponders and Brainstorms in the last one, so probably put it together. Chrome Mox. I think we allow this one. Poxwalkers, okay. There's a Bog at Bog. There's a Lotus Petal. There's another Lotus Petal. There is a Dark Ritual. Okay. There's an Undercity Informer. I will get rid of this Nadu, I think. Like, the Ghost Vacuum isn't the most useful thing against our opponent, but it does do some things against our opponent. It can force timings on some of their spells, and it teams up nicely with our other pieces of interaction. Are you just going to send it again for the second time? Goblin Charbelcher, you say. Kind of wish I had that Pithing Needle now, but we should be fine here anyway. But I will go and get this Tundra. I will cast this Brainstorm. Like, we're probably going to win on our next turn anyway. Our opponent has one card in hand. It's unlikely to be Lion's Eye Diamond. I'll just put back these 2 lands. If you've got Lion's Eye Diamonds as well, then you've earned it. Okay, they did not have that as well, so we just get to send it now and win the game. What could we possibly lose to? We could go and fetch a Daze up first, before we cast our Illusionist, just in case our opponent has something. I guess we could have held up the green so that we had Memory's Journey available instead of looking for the Daze. Right, so we've got Narcomoeba jumping out now. Our opponent isn't likely to be playing things like Faerie Macabre in their deck. They are always the aggressor. There's no matchup. I guess the Mirror is the one matchup where they are sometimes on the defensive. So we have 1, 2, 3. So we'll have 5 things. So do we have a Thassa's Oracle in here somewhere? We do. Alright, so we dread the turn target Thassa's. They didn't have anything. Excellent. They did get to see how we sideboarded though. But I'm now going to board in this Pithing Needle for the Goblin Charbelcher, I think. I don't think I want to disenchant for the Charbelcher, but is there a way we can fit it in? We could just trim back on these Nadu things and just try and win the game. We're like, we can beat them down a little bit if we need to. Do I like this Teferi? I don't think we need a Teferi. I'd rather have a Nadu than a Teferi. Okay. We'll try this. We're immediately going to draw the Disenchant. Our opponent's going to go through the graveyard and we're going to look foolish. We have double Force of Will. I guess we keep. The deck is a Force of Will check deck. The lower they go, the less chance they have of interacting with our Force of Wills. Maybe they'll have a Pact of Negation. We can use that as our win condition. Oh, I don't think we saw Pact in game 1. Bog at Bog. Untapped. A Thought Seize. Sure, you can see my bevy of cool stuff here. Not going to be an easy one to beat, but not impossible. They took an Illusionist. Alright, they're here for a long time. Not a good time. Alright, I will play out this Hedge Maze. That turns on our Daze. Yeah, I'm down for this. So we're probably on Urza Saga beatdown plan with counter magic backup. Cabal Therapy, you say? Interesting. Say no to that one. Put our Saga and get this ticking. So we have Force of Will available. And our opponent knows we have Force of Will. There's a Lotus Petal. They could just play some guy, which is kind of annoying for us, because then we have to interact with it. Because some guy flashes back the... So like Boggart, Trawler, Boggart, whatever it's called. I think, is it Boggart Trawler, I think is the front side of that card. Right, we'll just go and get ourselves this Tundra. And then we have ourselves a win condition. We can cover the Charbelcher off of the Pithing Needle as well. Which I think makes more sense than the Ghost Vacuum. The Ghost Vacuum is unlikely to do anything. It's fine in conjunction with like a Faerie Macabre, because then you can hit the same thing twice and sort of blow them out. But on its own, it doesn't do very much. Alright. Shocking in the Bog at Bog. A Simian Spirit Guide. I don't think I'm Force of Willing a Simian Spirit Guide. So now there's an argument to get the Ghost Quarter, not the Ghost Quarter, the Ghost Vacuum to take out the Cabal Therapy, which I think I'm going to do. Then I will deploy a Shuko to pump our creatures. Bash of 5. Our opponent has dealt a lot of damage themselves as well. Can my Force of Will get there? Our opponent has one card in hand. So outlook pretty good. Because they need another piece of mana before they can go off as well. Alright. We got the game and the match. A bit long getting a match win on the board, but we are on the board and the positive record is still live, so let's go to round 4. I don't like a double Narcomoeba hand, so I'm going to send this one right back. Okay, I'll take a single Narcomoeba hand. Because I can throw it back. Okay. This hand requires a little bit of help. But that's what Brainstorm is for. Ponder off an underground sea. The most likely thing is probably Blueback Reanimator, but it could be Doomsday, could be Storm, could be Blueback Tempo, could be Grixis Control. There's a lot of options. We are very much living in underground sea meta. Meticulous Archive. Do I like that more than the Brainstorm here? I think I'm okay getting this out of the way. And Urza Saga. Sure, I'm happy to play that next turn. We've got a Force of Will to try and stop our opponent's worst excesses. And then we have two different things that need to be answered. An Entomb. I would like to counterspell this. And I think I'm going to get rid of... I think it's the Nadu. Because we have the Cavern, we can always rely on this resolving anyway. Okay, we dodged the first bullet. Put a Saga. There's an argument to brainstorming right now to dodge an Orcish Bowmasters if we're going to be doing it anyway. So I think I will fire that off now. Force of Will, Ponder, Cephalid Illusionist. I like these cards. I think I want access to basically all of these. So next turn this goes to 2. We draw this. Next turn we draw the other one. We could just put the lands on top and just have maximum blue cards. Maybe we'll bury the Cavern too deep. We're just going to draw through all these anyway, I think. I think rather than making a construct token, I want to ponder here because we have the Cavern. Maybe we just don't do anything here. I think if we keep the Cavern as a top card, then we at least make one construct. But we have to expose our Cavern to do that, and I don't want to do that to a Wasteland deck. A Thought Seize. They target themselves, ditching the Archon of Cruelty. They are reanimating the Archon of Cruelty. I will say no to that. Alright. We survived another go around from our opponent. So we could ponder here, but I don't think we should. I also don't want to make a construct. It looks kind of funny that we're playing this out in a way where we're not making a construct when we could, but I think not exposing our Cavern of Souls to Wasteland is really clutch. Because it means we have an uncounterable Shuko and we have an uncounterable Illusionist. And our opponent probably doesn't have a lot of removal in their deck. So I could ponder first. I think I'm going to go and fetch a Trop here. Ponder first just for a little bit of extra interaction. We needed a Daze rather than a Force here, but I think we go any order in shuffle. We'll play this on Wizard, even though my heart wants to play on Octopus. So I need to have removal for this. Now they could have something like an Orcish Bowmasters, which they wouldn't have fired off into the Ponder because they want to have something that pings our guy down. A Petty Theft. Well, we do just get to do it next turn anyway. We got ourselves a little Narcomoeba. So we can brainstorm to hide our creature if they try and Thoughtseize us. If they only had a temporary reprieve, that's pretty good for us. We can beat Archon of Cruelty here. We could just discard the Brainstorm, or we could Brainstorm into putting the Cephalid Illusionist on top. And that way it also protects us if they have a follow-up of a piece of hand disruption. I think we've found a way through here. It's just whether or not they can deal with this Cavern, I think, is the main problem. It feels like they have some sort of counter magic available to them. So maybe they would counterspell our Brainstorm. Which means if they do play the Archon and we Brainstorm and they counterspell it, then we lose the Illusionist. So maybe we're not supposed to Brainstorm into the Archon. But we Brainstorm into a Thoughtseize. Or after a Thoughtseize or whatever. Not a Wasteland. Beautiful. You love to see it. Let's play this Nomads en-Kor. Allows us to do it at instant speed. Alright, they've had enough. To the sideboard we go. I would like some Faerie Macabres. I would also like this Cavern of Souls and this Teferi. We do not want Prismatic Endings. Now, there might be creatures that we do want to ending. So if they've got some Doughty Voidwalkers. But we have to kind of tread the line here, which is why the Blue-Black Reanimator deck is the best deck. Because it kind of makes you tread this horrible line of like, well, we need to have this graveyard stuff, but we also need to have stuff for their regular creatures, and it just becomes very irritating. I think we can trim one Shuko here. So we've got these. I don't really like the Force of Wills that much, but at least they're not a Pyroblast deck. But we kind of need the Force of Wills because we're not going to beat some of the graveyardy stuff. We'll probably trim on... They're not going to have that much for our graveyard though, are they? We could trim on one Illusionist and lean more into the Nadu, and maybe we're trimming a couple of Ponders because we need to have this game go a little bit differently to that. There is an argument to trim Dazes or trim Force of Wills, but if our opponent just sends it, we need to not die to that. We could have this chant in as just another way to force through things, but I think because we have something that we need to force on our opponent's side, we're doing that. If this was like a control matchup where we don't have anything to worry about from our opponent other than them answering our stuff, then we could bring in the chant over a force. So if this was like a Delver matchup, maybe we could have a chant instead of a force. But I think we just need the forces because our opponent could just go turn 2. Here's an unbeatable threat that is almost certainly going to be backed up by counter magic if it resolves. And we just need to say no to that one. Okay, I like where we're sat here. I will keep this. We've got tools for the fair plan. We've got tools for the unfair plan. We've got protection. We've got half of our combo. We've got a cantrip to find the other part. Now, if we have to use a force, we do lose another resource. But if that stops us losing the game, then sign me up. Right, we can happily pitch a Teferi now. I'm not going to crack this fetch land. I want to crack it in... Well, I might want to do it in response, but we need to keep this up to play around a Daze. Alright, we're just going for an Undersea Sewers here. They left the card on top, which is no good for us. We want to see it binned unless it's a giant monster. A Brainstorm. Okay, that could well be what our opponent kept. That would make sense. We have to make a decision about what we're doing in regards to playing around Wasteland. I think we're just going to... We could get a Meticulous Archive and then Brainstorm on our turn. That leaves us mana open to play around Daze. I think that's where I want to be. The other option is to Brainstorm and Shuffle, put some cards back, but I don't really want to put many cards back right now. I just want the Meticulous Archive to get some white mana going. Yes, I would like to keep a land, please. It's kind of interesting which one we play here. I think I want to play out the Trop because I really don't want to have our white mana wasted. So maybe bait them into possibly wasting our Trop. Right, they're shuffling away those Brainstorm cards. A Wasteland. Not the card I wanted to see here. I don't really want to Brainstorm into our opponent's potential Bowmasters here. This is our only white source. I would like to Brainstorm, so I'm going to Brainstorm now. That way if they put a Bowmasters in, we can plow it. They did not. We're a little bit shy of mana here, though, aren't we? So we're probably going to shuffle away one Illusionist. And it's probably a Teferi here. Oh no, we draw the Teferi out. This is our upkeep, isn't it? Apologies. So... We have a lot of interaction, so I'm going to hope that that interaction holds fast, and we're just going to shuffle away some stuff here. We need some white mana more than anything here, so this is an any order and shuffle. And there's a Saga. I don't hate that. So we have Daze. We'll obviously pick up our Tropical Islands, so we can't be wastelanded. But nope, they did not do anything our end step, so no Entomb. That's good. You could just be seeing something like a Barrow Goyf, which is annoying because we don't have white mana. So we probably have to respect the Barrow Goyf with a Daze. A Thought Seize. Okay, I don't think we can fight over this. We have two pieces of interaction that are both going to be live this turn at least. Because our opponent can't do anything really busted on just one mana. They need to have like an Entomb and a Reanimate. So that's at least going to be able to be interfered with by the Daze and slow them down a turn. Maybe gives us a chance to get in there with something else. We can start running the... There's a Saga game in a minute. I took the Force of Will. Hopefully the Daze gets us through another turn cycle. A Wasteland. Well, well, well. Not a big lover of that. But they know we have a Saga coming, so they might save it for the Saga. Obviously, we don't want that either. Yeah, this is kind of one of the problems again about playing against Blue Reanimator is we can be geared into stopping their reanimation plan a little bit. Do we Daze here? We get to pick up our land so they don't waste it, but then they waste our Saga instead. I don't think it's worth making our opponent tap their Wasteland here. Now we have a bunch of Graveyard Hate in our deck, so we could draw that. Valvagoth. This is a difficult creature to interact with. Sacrifice 3 non-land permanents is quite the phrase. A Cavern of Souls. I can't put that on Planeswalker, unfortunately. Put out this Urza Saga. It's going to get wastelanded with the trigger on the stack, most likely. It did not get wastelanded with the trigger on the stack. So we could play out Cephalid Illusionist. That gives us the option of, if we draw any cantrips, that we can try and cantrip our way through. But we already have a Cavern of Souls we could deploy to make that a better shout. Valvagoth is also very strong against what we're trying to do combo-wise. Alright, I'm going to play out this Cephalid Illusionist. I don't think it's going to do anything. But this has like a Leyline of the Void effect. So this combo doesn't work anyway if they reanimate their guy. But if they spend any resources on this, that maybe is okay and buys us a touch more time. Alright, they're wastelanding our blue source. We're going to see the Valvagoth enter play, are we? We are indeed. We could daze this, but it doesn't matter. Well, well, well. That is quite the large monster. We need to somehow assemble 3 non-land permanents. So I guess we make some construct tokens, then we play the Teferi and try and bounce it. That is our plan here. Fatal Push. What do they mill? Because they get all these cards. So they took our Oracle. They've got our Narcomoeba as well. They could probably just assemble our combo after a few turns of this as well. Do I want to continue playing this game? No. Let's go to the sideboard. Do I want to do anything differently here? I don't think so. I quite like our plan. They very much look like they're still on a solid amount of graveyard stuff. I think the Valvagoth as an answer for decks like ours is quite inspired. It's pretty good. Any like dedicated graveyardy type decks you can really jam up with an early Valvagoth. Although, you know, if you reanimate a giant monster, you're probably winning anyway. But it can shut off like some avenues of people being able to like Illusionist combo you or whatever. Or like Dredge rip through their deck and Oracle. Or Oops, or Spells can't win through there either. So it's just a nice little extra line of protection whilst also being a massive yacht. Right, we are on the play. We have a little bit of interaction with this Daze. I think I'll keep it. And we can play this game on basics as well. Or at least to an extent. Underground Sea Pass. I'm not going to get Meticulous Archive this time. I will leverage the ability to play on basics here. Let's get a basic island. Let's Brainstorm. Before our opponent has access to Bowmaster or anything like that. Okay, I like a lot of these things I'm seeing. Put back these two. I'm down to drop this. Actually, no, I don't want to drop the Nomads because our opponent tried to entomb. I want our Daze to go through against our opponent's Daze. Living in fear of their entomb. Having to pick up our island is irritating. So that takes us further away from Nadu. No end of turn entomb. That's good news for us. A Teferi. That is certainly the sort of card I'm interested in right now. Don't want to play out into Bowmasters here. Okay, I think we're just going to play a slightly slower game here. We can Brainstorm in response to stuff if we need to. And entomb. Okay. Let's Brainstorm. We don't get to stop this entomb. What does that mean for us? Nothing good, I'll tell you that much. I'll hide this Nadu, I guess. I assume it's going to be the Valvagoth again. There it is. We can Daze here, but it doesn't matter. What we're probably going to try and do is play Nomads and the Nadu in the same turn cycle. And then start popping off. A Reanimate. We're not interacting with that one, unfortunately. It's just a massive guy with some horrible lines of text. Everything is fine. Let's play this Nomads. It should hopefully give us enough non-land permanents that we can actually get rid of this Valvagoth. If we can assemble our combo. Play this on Wizard. Let's see if we can do the thing. Alright, we got something being cracked over there. We can interact with this using our Daze if it's like a Brazen Borrower. Which I feel it must be if they're cracking the fetch land. Could be Orcish Bowmasters. Shoot the Sheriff. Let's say no to that. I really wish... Okay, so this now has the reminder text on. That's good news. Alright, they have a Daze for our Daze. That's sad, isn't it? Yeah, Assassins, Mercenaries, Pirates, Rogues, and Warlocks. Okay, I would never have guessed all of those if it wasn't written down. Okay. So we need to find a non-land permanent we can put into play. So we put in a non-land permanent, and we also play the Teferi. We can bounce this, then we sack Teferi to the ward trigger. We sack all of our stuff to deal with this Valgavoth. Or Valgavoth. Whatever. This giant monster. This scary moth house. Whatever it is. Alright, 9 damages. That is half of our life total. That is quite a large chunk, isn't it? Okay, so we have a line that wins us the game. Or well, doesn't win us the game, but we have a line that helps here. We can't tap that for it, so we tap the white here to play the Shuko. So we can draw a couple of cards, and then we can play a Teferi and bounce this. And maybe somewhere along the lines, we end up with another thing, so we get to keep our Nadu, perhaps. Okay, they could play a Force of Will. That's pretty bad news for us. I guess we have to Brainstorm. Like, Entomb, Reanimate, Force of Will, Daze, Shoot the Sheriff. Like, I don't know what we're supposed to do about this. So we don't get to shuffle these. No, we're just going to die. So we can block this next turn. But then the turn after, we just die here. We get one... I guess we get one random draw, don't we? We haven't played a land yet, have we? I don't think so. We have played a land. Okay, in that case, we are just dead. Is that true? No, because next turn we mill over the Oracle. We block this. We're effectively dead. But we may as well give it the old college try. If we draw our Graveyard Hate stuff, fine. But if we don't draw it, then we're going to lose. That's kind of how it feels. Yep, you can have our Brainstorm. Enjoy. So actually no, this doesn't work because we block with this, then they just get to cast our Nadu. So I'm just going to concede this game because this will go into our exile, then they'll cast the Nadu, then they just have Nadu combo as well as having their massive guy, and we're not winning that. Having a pretty rough run of it today, I must say. We are currently 1-3, which is definitely the worst I've ever done with breakfast, that's for sure. All right, let's go to the final round and see if we can get some pity points back. Okay. This hand just needs more mana. Alright, I'm going to believe in the power of Ponder here. If we get Wastelanded, so be it, but we have some really great tools here. Let's go get Tundra, because we can't get a basic island here. And maybe we'll be showing them no fear with this Ponder. We can't draw through these, we need to go any order in shuffle. Did not find a land. No Wasteland, beautiful. A Tamiyo. Okay, we can answer this with a Prismatic Ending. I'd really love to draw a land off the top. Okay, we're on ninjas. Cool. We can draw a land and maybe answer both these creatures. Feels weird pointing a Prismatic Ending at an Ornithopter. If only we could play this for 0 mana. But that's not how that card works. Alright, so we are having an issue here. Let's do this and get rid of this Tamiyo before they can do brainstorms and stuff. Daze is pretty good here. There's a Daze. Is this what I'm fighting over? Like, our Force of Will is probably not getting pointed at many other things, is it? Oh, this is not where I want to be here. I think we'll see if we can counterspell something else, but we're not going to be able to counterspell the ninjutsu stuff. Maybe we're supposed to hit that Daze there. But Tamiyo isn't like an enormous threat to us. Okay, they're not putting a ninja in this turn. That's good. Also, the ninja decks these days don't play Wasteland, which I think is correct for their deck as well. They don't really want to spend the land drop on something like a Wasteland. Right, so they're going to get a clue here. Are they struggling for land as well? They didn't shuffle off the Ponder, but they don't have... Oh no, they bounced off this with the Daze, didn't they? Of course. Okay, I would like to go and get probably a tropical island here for the future. I guess that means we're playing a Shuko here. Do I want to? How much do I want to kill this Tamiyo? I think I do want to kill the Tamiyo. Or we could try and kill whatever they play afterwards. And just jam a Shuko. Because we don't really care about the Tamiyo flipping just yet anyway. Because we just win with a combo rather than trying to beat our opponent down. And we can certainly clock them in the time it takes for them to tick it all the way up. Okay. Are you going to ninjutsu anything in? Looks like they might be. And we will plow whatever they put in. Probably going to be a Uriko. Or there's a Uriko. Let's try and answer this. Again, they could Daze it or whatever, but they didn't. And that's good for us. There's an Ornithopter. If we find a land, we can send it with Forcible backup. We found a land. I would very much like to send this with Forcible backup. Okay, we're doing it. Right, so we go and get a Tundra here. For its Nomads. And then we get some more triggers. Alright, our opponent's scooping it up. So we're going to draw 4 cards this turn. We untap, we draw 4 cards on our opponent's turn. And our opponent is a fair mid-range deck that tries to bury its opponent in card advantage from its ninjas. And that's just not going to happen with what we're doing. Okay, so what would I like to do to mess with our opponents here? I don't particularly love the Force of Will here. I would prefer to have Teferi. The Cavern of Souls can replace a different land here. I think it probably... I'm not sure what land would replace. We'll work that out in a second. Maybe it's just a fetch land. It's like a Windswept Heath or something. That leaves us with only 4 fetch. No, we have 7 fetches still. Yeah, okay. We can replace Windswept Heath. So, I like the Teferi. I like the Cavern of Souls. The Orim's Chant gives us the ability to combo through our opponent things. I think we trim on a couple of Force of Wills. We don't want to be trading 2-for-1 resources too much into our opponents here. Daze is not great versus our opponent either. So maybe we do get to keep one of these Force of Wills in. There's an argument to bringing Pith and Needle to deal with Kaito, because that card is pretty irritating. So maybe I will exchange a Force of Will for... I guess we could trim one of these Cephalid Illusionists. Oh wait, no. We can have them both actually, can't we? Okay, that seems okay to me. Like, we want a few Force of Wills to protect what we're doing, and also to, when we start doing the Nadu thing, to just secure our position. This is not the one for me. This is a mulligan. Okay, we don't have to worry about wastelands from the deck. So I think this is okay. Island Ponder Keep and all that jazz. Get rid of this Narcomoeba. You can ponder into some white sources maybe. We're going to see a Tameo here most likely. There it is. If we find a white source, we could just plow this straight up. It does slow them down a fair bit. But we didn't find a white source, so it's time to ponder. Can you show me a land, please, deck? You can, and we'll bury this Narcomoeba. So we're going to get the Teferi and the land out of this. I call that a deal. We have lots of answers, which is not a bad place to be. We've got Tundra waiting in the wings now. There is the Uriko. So we're going to take a hit from this. What are they going to reveal? A Daze. Okay, good to know. Let's crack this for a Tundra. We don't want the Narcomoeba underneath anyway. I will plow this around the Daze that we know is in their hand. Next turn we can play Saga and Teferi if we want to. That will be into the Daze, so that's probably not the best idea actually. But we can maybe try and bait it out with this Brainstorm end of turn. Harbinger of the Seas. Alright, I'm down to Brainstorm here. Kind of need these white cards. A Daze. Alright, we managed to get rid of the Daze, I guess. But we don't have any castable cards in hand, and our only land will immediately die. So they have this instead of Wasteland, and it's going to be pretty solid for us here. Flooded Strand. Another blue source. Maybe we should have got the planes to play around this and respect it a little bit more. Yeah, we definitely could have got planes just to play around specifically this. Swords to Plowshares. Alright, we're not playing as a Saga out because of the way Sagas work. If we put this into play, it will die. Cracking that clue token, and now they're going to start harvesting some more clues. 7-turn clock. We've got cantrips we can draw. We've got our basic planes we can draw. Alright, Kaito. So we are dead in a quite quick fashion now. So this is 5 this turn, and then 6 next turn. So just going to surveil. We've got 1 turn really. We do have the Pith Needle to stop the Kaito from activating. Memory's Journey, that's not the one. I think we just... so if we plow next turn, we can play some blockers, I guess. So we have 1 turn to try and find what we're looking for. Yeah, if we had just fetched the planes off of this and respected the Harbinger a bit more, we would be okay in this spot. Now, we don't know what else is in our opponent's hand. They've got an absolutely stacked grip over there. So maybe it wouldn't work anyway, but we'd at least be attempting to play this game. Right, they're just surveilling here. They might as well draw cards because they don't need to pump this. They can pump this next turn if we kill this. Playing any guy, a Thoughtseize. Sure. I'd probably take the Plow here. So that way we can't just draw planes and get our way out of it. I think that's the correct line. Yeah, I don't think we have any outs now. Because if we play a guy, they tap it down anyway. We did draw the planes. What are we doing here? How are we getting through this Kaito? I think we have to bounce the Harbinger, fetch a Tundra, and hope that we draw. Alright, we just get Force of World. Yeah, so I think we have to bounce this, try and draw into Plow. Alright, we could have avoided a lot of things that went wrong with that game, so I think we'll just go back in and try and play a bit more carefully. I do not like at least 2 of the cards in this hand. This is a clear mulligan. Okay, I can deal with this one. We can keep this. What are we bottoming here? I guess it's probably Saga. So I'm going to play this Nomads with a Tundra on turn 1. And then we can have an uncounterable Cephalid Illusionist on turn 2. And that might just be game. If it isn't, then we can work our way towards something else. A Tamiyo. An Ornithopter. We do need to worry about Graveyard here if we're going for the Illusionist combo. Unlike earlier iterations of this deck, we don't have the ability to Cabal Therapy our opponent first. Do we need to go for it here or not, is the question. I don't think we do, because we have an uncounterable Nadu next turn. We can't block this Tamiyo, but that's okay. We can't block the Ornithopter either. I think the plan is to not go for it straight away here. I activated it once to see if our opponent would do anything, and they didn't. So our planes being in the graveyard is annoying for Harbinger purposes, but we can just try and win the game instead. And that seems like a fine thing to do. A Fatal Push targeting our Cephalid Illusionist. I could start comboing now. But if they have any graveyard hate, that doesn't go well for us. I think we let that go and then we try and combo with the Nadu. A Brainstorm, this is going to flip the Tamiyo. That's okay though, we can just draw into Prismatic Ending and that clears the backside. Teferi can bounce it and reset it. We're going to have Nadu combo next turn and that should be good enough. Snuff Out is the only thing they could have here that could jam us up. Which is a card you do sometimes see out of these decks. I want to get a green source so that we have Memory's Journey if that's a thing we ever need to do. Get the Savannah. So blue, green, colourless. Let's have our big uncounterable Bird Wizard. No Snuff Out. Alright. Let's start drawing some cards. An Illusionist. Okay. That's certainly a nice one to have access to. Wouldn't mind hitting another land here. We did not hit another land, and the Memory Journey is in our hand. We don't get to keep going anymore. But we did draw 4 cards. No point attacking into their 0-2 and their Tamiyo. Then in their upkeep, we can draw some more cards. Okay. We've got 8 cards in hand. Not bad. So we can now mill ourselves and then just play the uncounterable Thassa's Oracle if we want. And we have enough resources that our opponents shouldn't be able to interact with what we're doing. So part of the problem with playing mid-range in Legacy at the moment is the fact that Nadu decks will just outvalue you all the time. Alright, our opponents are scooping it up, and I don't blame them. So we did finish off with a 2-3 record. Obviously, a 2-3 record is certainly a lot worse than last time who managed to just win the Legacy Showcase Challenge. So this deck has a lot higher highs than what we displayed today. And if you search through my back catalogue of videos, you'll find some other breakfast videos that went better than this one. I think this is the worst breakfast video I've recorded in terms of the record at the end. But we split a lot of games 2-1, and we didn't end up drawing any graveyard hate against the Reanimator deck, which is obviously going to be a little bit awkward. Clearly this deck is very strong. It was one of the things I had tipped for being the best deck. I had this and Blue-Black Reanimator, in my opinion, were the 2 best decks after the bannings, and I think this deck is right up there. I think more people should be playing it. I think it takes a little bit getting used to. I think there are more reps that you need with this deck to work out how you're interacting with other decks. Optimally, what is the correct plan against each particular deck? I think there's a lot of that to it. But the deck is just inherently quite powerful in terms of what it does. It can send a turn 2 combo with protection. It can interfere with opposing combo decks. It has all the sort of tools that you want in the meta, I believe. Like we have I win buttons with Thassa's Oracle off of either doing the illusion stuff or, you know, Nadu plus Nomads is basically an I win button when you're drawing that many cards in a blue deck. You have interaction for creatures and other permanents. You have protection in the form of Teferi. You have these counter magic to sort of make sure you don't die to random turn 1 stuff. So yeah, I really like this deck. Now, sometimes you're going to draw like Dread Returns and Shukos when they're no good. Sometimes you have a Nomad but nothing to go with it and it's going to look bad. Same with the Illusionist. We have a lot of cards, like this whole row of cards here are all cards that are bad. But when they, well, Nadu isn't bad on its own. A 3 mana 3/4 fire is good. So we can count Nadu out for that one. Let's move that guy over here. But yeah, so we have this pile of 15 cards here, which is a third of our deck. That are all bad cards that need some sort of synergy to be acceptable cards. And sometimes you're going to end up with situations where you just have just bits and it just looks horrible. And maybe you'll just draw like Memory's Journey into Narcomoeba into Oracle, and you're just going to have a really bad time. That is obviously a thing that can happen. But the power level that you get for it and the ability to just brainstorm those cards away is really solid. And sometimes just having little bodies all of a sudden become good when you start doing Nadu things. So yeah, this deck is clearly very, very strong, and it should be a deck that is on your radar. I think you need to have a decent chunk of reps to know like when you should be pivoting to your Sagas and stuff like that. We definitely didn't play perfectly this particular league, but I think we showcased some various angles of the deck. We did some Nadu stuff, we did some Cephalid Breakfast stuff. We even had a Urza Saga beatdown, so we did showcase the whole shebang there. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and once again, congratulations to Larson for yet another victory in the Legacy format. Alright, please remember to like and subscribe, and if you want to see my videos early, you can become a YouTube member for just £1 a month, which is very cheap, cheaper than other content creators. Not that I'm trying to compete with them, but it helps me quite a lot, the more of you that sign up to that. Alright, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.